FDA expected to authorize new COVID boosters without data from tests in people. Remember that? The lack of human data means officials likely won't know how much better the new shots are, if at all, until the fall booster campaign is well underway. That's from NBC News saying that. You know how shady? Anyway, Max Blumenthal, he caught this. So this guy here is Paul Offit. Now, we've quoted him on this show before. He's an advisor to the FDA. He's also invented a vaccine of his own. And so he's on it. And here's what he's on. He goes on CNN, and he kind of blows their mind. Because listen to what he says about the booster.
So the idea is there. The panel is meeting today. It's likely that they're going to recommend, right, this booster that does specifically target Omicron. So when people are trying to understand the difference, how do you explain it to them?
Well, here's what I would say. I think the question is who really benefits from another dose. I mean, the CDC has shown that people who've gotten 3 doses are generally are less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 2, and those who got 4 were less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 3.
But who are those people?
Who are those people? Who are those people who are getting hospitalized? It really falls into 3 groups. One is the elderly, meaning people over 65. 2 is people who have the kind of serious health problems, say chronic lung disease, which when they get a mild or moderate infection, lands them in the hospital. And 3 is people who are immune compromised. I think what this...
So what he just described to you there was the Barrington Declaration. So the Barrington Declaration were people who had a different idea than Dr. Fauci and the establishment in the United States and Western world. And the different idea was to do exactly what he's talking about. Oh, sure, there's people who need protection from COVID. Those would be elderly people with comorbidities. Those would be other people who have immunocompromised systems. And those would be other people in high risk factors, like people who are obese. Like maybe you target... that's what the Barrington Declaration. So you target you isolate those people if they're severely at risk. You target them with the vaccines first. And that's what he's talking about. When they give this data about, the vaccine, people with 2 doses are less likely to be in the hospital than people with 1 dose. Yeah, but those people who end up in the hospital, who are they? And those people who end up in the hospital are just the people he just said, those in those 3 groups. So should you then recommend that same treatment for everybody who isn't in those 3 susceptible groups? He's going to, here's what he says.
Advisory committee is going to be voting on later this afternoon is are we going to allow distribution of the Moderna vaccine for everybody over 18, of the Pfizer vaccine for everybody over 12? And what I fear is that they're going to say everybody should get it, when in fact a healthy young person really is unlikely to benefit from a booster dose. And so I hope they target it more specifically to those really who are most likely to benefit from this additional dose.
On CNN. Did they not see that coming? I wonder why they invited this guy on. Honest to God, I'm not kidding. Because this isn't the first time he's been critical. He's actually had integrity. This is what integrity looks like.
And it's the first and last time he'll be on CNN ever again.
I bet you. And you want to hear how ridiculous this news host, who I'm sure is a nice person, do you want to hear how she's just been so her brain has been conditioned by our culture? Listen to what she says to him after this guy, who's a vaccine inventor, says, you don't want to give this to kids.
So if they don't, because right now as it stands...
So let me back it up just to give you...
Also, look at her face. It's the face of somebody who has a producer yelling in her ear.
Okay, here we go.
And what I fear is that they're going to say everybody should get it, when in fact a healthy young person really is unlikely to benefit from a booster dose. And so I hope they target it more specifically to those really who are most likely to benefit from this additional dose.
So if they don't, because right now as it stands, if you are 50 and over, or if you have, a pre-existing condition, yes, you could be eligible. But otherwise, as you point out, younger people are not. If it is in fact authorized, Pfizer would be authorized for 12 and up, as you point out, Moderna 18 and up. Why not get it? right?
Why not take an experimental vaccine? Why not take an experimental treatment? Why not? Why not? You know how long they test all the other vaccines?
It takes about 10 years. For
About 10 years.
Yeah, about 10 years about that.
About 10 years.
I
You know how
just
long
wanna
they
point-
tested this one? They even tested it on people. Do you remember this? Do you remember I showed you? They even tested it on people. She's like, why wouldn't you? When has Big Pharma ever not been true blue to you? When has Big Pharma not looked out for your health care? Why? This is her. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take an experimental emergency medical treatment if it doesn't give you any benefit? That's her question. That's mental. Go ahead, kid.
If I were to cover this story and talk about it on Hard Lens, I know that my channel would systematically get flagged and suppressed. There are so many independent media networks that have been talking about this on YouTube that have been systematically censored.
Yeah, I know. Hey,
only now, oh, the wonderful institutions of CNN,
yes,
and MSDNC. I mean, I'm sorry, MSNBC.
Yes,
are talking about, oh, maybe there's a danger with the vaccines, or maybe people don't need to use it. And you've been silenced and suppressed too. It's BS on the highest order, and I think it's long overdue that we call out these jagoffs, these bastards, for what they've done to us as a country, as a people.
I agree.
I mean, they abandon us.
So there's. Let's see if there's more to this.
It does give you, even if it's a smaller benefit, is there any reason not to get the booster?
Is there any reason not to
He
take
just told you.
an emergency? What? That hasn't been tested on you? You see his face? He's like, oh my God. I just told you why. Anyway, let's see and look at her face. Oh, and he's like, Jesus.
I think when you're asking people to get a vaccine, I think there has to be clear evidence of benefit. And we're not going to have clinical studies, obviously, before this launches, but you'd like to have at least human data, people, getting this vaccine, you see a clear and dramatic increase in neutralizing antibodies. And then at least you have a correlate of protection against BA4, BA5. Because if you don't have that, if there's not clear evidence of benefit, then it's not fair, I think, to ask people to take a risk, no matter how small. The benefit should be clear.
And he's saying there isn't it. It isn't clear. And she doesn't like that. She's getting yelled at. Grrr.
Our producers are yelling at her, hey,
She-
you better say something.
She looks upset, right? Doesn't she?
I think she looks more of like, I just want my producer to stop yelling in my ear. Please stop yelling. Please stop.
So should kids get the booster? Paul Offit, FDA advisor, says he wouldn't recommend it. That's what he says. He's a member of the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee, and he still has integrity. How that happened? That's a glitch in the matrix. That's what you're watching. This is a glitch in the matrix. So you want to see another glitch in the matrix? Here's when Rand Paul is going to ask Dr. Fauci, is there any studies that say the boosters are good for children?
Dr. Fauci, the government recommends everybody take a booster over age 5. Are you aware of any studies that show reduction in hospitalization or death for children who take a booster?
No, the answer is no. And that's why he asked that question, because that's how lawyers act. You never ask a question you don't know the answer to, so he knows the answer is no. And now watch Dr. Fauci not answer the question.
Right now, there's not enough data that has been accumulated, Senator Paul.
Right now, there's not enough data that has been accumulated. In normal speak, you would say, no, there isn't any studies. But if you say it like that, it doesn't sound, there's not enough data. So you guys have the data, just not enough. You're like right almost there with the data. No, there's none. The answer is no. Okay.
To indicate that that's the case, I believe that the recommendation that was made was based on the assumption that if you look at the morbidity and mortality,
they made a recommendation for boosters for children on an assumption, not on data. Not on data.
Well, you know what happens when you assume,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The word when you assume,
Yes,
you assume.
Here we go.
of children within each of the age groups 0 to 5, 5 to 11.
Right. So there are no studies, and Americans should all know this. There are no studies on children showing a reduction in hospitalization or death with taking a booster.
That's it. I don't know what else you need to know. And if you don't smell the game that's been going on by now, I guess maybe COVID took away your sense of smell.
Where do you see the Democratic senators talking?
Can you believe this? This is right out in the open. Right out in the open, they're doing this.
Where
and it's still none of my friends in comedy. None of them have a critique of any of this. They're still making fun of you for getting informed. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Again, it's Senator Rand Paul that's talking about this, but you're never going to see somebody like Bernie or anyone else in the Democratic Party talk about this because they went lock and step.
That's right.
With the Biden-Harris administration, with corporate media, with big pharma, and the corporations that go along with this. So Senator Rand Paul is asking the questions. I guess he's there by himself. Now, look, he's a Republican, same as Democrats. Never trust a two-party system. Vote independent. Vote third party. But who else is asking these questions? Where's Bernie? The guy
That's
who
right.
said Medicare for all.
Where is he?
Where is he at? That's a Nixon impression. Sorry, wrong impression.
Yeah.
I can't do a Bernie impression.
Here's what the CDC says about booster vaccinations. They say for booster vaccinations, an mRNA vaccine is recommended. Recommendations vary based on age and primary series product. People ages 12 years and older are recommended to receive one age-appropriate bivalent, is that how you say it? Bivalent mRNA booster dose after completion of the FDA-approved or FDA-authorized monovalent primary series. The new booster recommendation replaces all prior booster recommendations for this group. Wow. So the monovalent mRNA is no longer authorized as booster doses for people ages 12 and older. You got to get this new one. They got the new one. Huh? Don't you want to get the latest one? Huh? With the...
I don't want anything. I'm fine.
It's got the hubcaps that spin. Right? I want the new one. The children ages 5 to 11 are recommended to receive one monovalent mRNA booster dose after completion of monovalent primary series, if eligible. Wow. So this guy says this guy, Paul Offit, he's an American pediatrician specializing in infectious diseases, vaccines, immunology, and virology. He is the co-inventor of the rotavirus vaccine. Now, because he said something that Big Pharma doesn't like, The Atlantic is going to tell you that he didn't do that. Because that's what they did to Dr. Robert Malone.
Well, remember, there was a narrative that was being shared in 2020. It's not only just the pandemic lies or getting vaccinated that was being shared throughout 2020, but you had a government that systematically abandoned people, abandoned small businesses. People were told to stay home, but yet they had to pay their bills, pay their debts. And did the government do a bailout for the American people? No. The answer is the most definite no. And now you have a housing crisis where people are being evicted from their homes and apartments. Never forget that in 2021, when AOC and Cori Bush had to run
yes.
to the House to stop Ice Cream Nancy Pelosi from adjourning Congress. I mean, why did AOC and Cori Bush had to run? They should have been in there in the first place.
Right.
But, they did that fantastic little charade in front of Capitol Hill, also telling people to get vaccinated, of course. They could do a protest, but everyone was vaccinated there. And then when some BS was shared, shout out to Frank Analysis who caught that video of,
yes.
Hey, wait a minute, nothing was solved. There's still going to be a problem. So the thing is, we were abandoned. If you vote Democrat or Republican, if you're a diehard Democratic voter or a diehard Republican voter, tell me what it's like to also believe in Santa Claus, little leprechauns, and Sasquatch. I mean, I like to live in a fantasy world too, where, my United States Senator and House Representative care about me. No, they don't. They don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you. Now go get vaccinated and vote harder.
Vote harder. I like to live in a world where people pronounce charade. That's what I like. That's the kind of world I want to live in. And I appreciate you creating that world for me, Kit.
There we go. And guess what? The word Parmesan is now legitimate. There you go.
Sure. It's Parmesan cheese. Virginia Beach, Richmond, Arlington, San Jose, Miami, West Palm Beach. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets and become a premium member while you're there.